Okay, what's going on, guys? We are back again. We are up and rolling. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Captain Cody Davis here with you guys again for another one. And this is actually going to be a remake. This is going to be a redo video, really the first time I've ever had to do anything like this. But the previous video I posted, I ended up taking down, not because I was forced to or anything. I had some people reaching out, were you forced to take down that video? It got a little controversial. And I wasn't. I chose to do so because I made a mistake when it comes down to it, and we're going to talk about it. I'm a type of person that has absolutely no problem admitting when I'm wrong because I do it once a week. I'm wrong a lot, so I ended up taking the video down. But when it comes down to it, I could have just forgotten about the video. But I think the video was important. The few people that did see it literally reached out and said, "Man, that was a great video. Really needed to be said." So I'm going to remake it. But essentially what I did in the last video is I kind of wanted to go like this, and I kind of went like this. And I kind of went off on a tangent, a couple of rants. And when it comes down to it, I involved some people's names and accused some people of some things that when it comes down to it, they just never did. And accused them of things that really never happened. The things happened, but not on their default or, because of them. So I'm not going to mention names in this at all because I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea of a certain somebody. But really, I kind of went off. I did go a little bit hard, and I didn't start hit record and intend to go down that path. The conversation just brought me there. I never prepare anything I'm saying. Same thing goes for this video. And my conversation just led me down that road, and it was basically talking about a certain thread conversation that was going around social media that my name was attached to a bunch, along with some other people that are known here around Lake Okeechobee, being accused of things that just were not true. And being accused of some stuff, which I'll get into in this video because I think it's important, but of things that just aren't true and really could hurt our line of work and our credibility. So it was sent to me a couple weeks ago. People were pissed. People were tagging me. People were screenshotting and saying, "Oh, how do you feel about this? Like, this isn't right." All this stuff. And there were other people attached to it that, well, here's the deal. It was sent to me. I had just gotten down to the Keys for a weekend with my family. I don't care. I don't let comments really bother me. They might bother me, but I just move on. That's what I chose to do. I didn't chose to pursue it because I didn't want it to ruin my weekend with my family. The other people that were involved, some other people had nothing else to do. So people were called and there was stuff made. But either way, I never looked into it. I never clicked on it. I never went back and looked for it. I just moved on until it came up in this conversation that I was having with this camera in the last video. And I ended up kind of accusing somebody of something or being part of that when they really never were. And I kind of, slandered this certain someone. And again, I'm not going to mention names. He knows who he is, and a lot of you listening know who he is. And I was wrong because he really, at the end of the day, although me and him have had differences for years on social media and things, this was not one of those times. He really did not do anything. And he was sure to call me and text me and say, "What the hell is your problem?" And I never did any of that. And when it comes down to it, he was right. So instead of editing the video or anything, I just decided to take it down because it's going to ruin, not only just for his sake. I mean, obviously I was accusing him of something that he never did, but also with me, it ruins my credibility when it's on social media. Everything is still there. People can go back and find this certain thing and say, he never did any of that. Cody doesn't know what he's talking about. So I apologize to this certain someone. I genuinely did mean it. I'm not one of these people that gets called out and then backs down. But he was right. I was wrong. And I apologize to him. And I truly mean this. Like, I genuinely like this person. I do. I think he's a great guy. Like, I have nothing. Although we might get into it on Facebook, I get into it with my wife on Facebook, and I'm married to her. So I genuinely like this person. He does a lot of great things. He helps out and is a sponsor of some really good friends of mine. He supports small. I do like this certain somebody. I really do. I'm not just saying that to like back down on this video. I always judge, how do I like somebody, or if I like somebody or not. I picture myself running down the lake and seeing them broke down or something wrong and them waving, do I just turn my head and keep running? Do I stop and ask if you need help, or do I stop, try to distract you, and pull your boat plug out? And he's definitely someone I would stop and help if needed. Um, he's a good dude, and I apologize again. I wasn't trying to be a hard ass. Some people accused me of doing this and starting, confrontation for clicks. I make $100 a month on YouTube, guys. I'm not making this. Isn't doing anything, so it's not anything for that. It just led me down that road, and we're going to get into that conversation, like the thing I'm talking about, kind of. But I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything. I'm not name dropping or anything like that. So just wanted to apologize again for me kind of looking kind of like an asshole. And yeah, I mean, people make mistakes, and I took the video down, and that really probably won't happen again. But here's the deal: the video I posted was regarding. I got to try and kind of remake this whole thing now. And the reason I'm remaking this again is because it's something that's very important to me. And we're going to be talking about the spraying of aquatic vegetation, not just on Lake Okeechobee, but I mean across the entire state of Florida, and how awful of a job our state does at managing our bass fisheries. And when it comes down to it, really just the entire state of Florida and its fisheries all together, what being brackish, backwater, saltwater, offshore fisheries, whatever. And the kind of the way that this rant that I took down came about was I get a lot of press, I get a lot of kickback about my views on what needs to be done with this lake. And what I mean by that is when it comes to spraying of aquatic vegetation is absolutely awful. It's criminal, it's disgusting, it's become a multi-million dollar business, and that's why you see it so prevalent in our fisheries down here. And it's all you see on social media is people sharing thousands of hours of footage of spray boats decimating areas, spraying native vegetation, spraying wildlife with the chemical, dumping the chemical. Okay. And um, everyone is very, very hard on stopping the spraying, as am I. But I get pressed for not being more involved in stopping the spraying, I think. And it's not that I don't want it stopped. I 100% do. But for a while, and still am, my bigger focus is getting the water level on Lake Okeechobee down and over the spraying. And the big controversial thing here is that it's not just me. There was a number of us names on around Lake Okeechobee that were trying to push for the same thing, opposed from trying to focus on spraying. Scott Martin was one of them. I think some of you listening to this probably know who that gentleman is. Raymond and Glaze, there was a few of us. And there were a lot of people that seemed almost like upset that we weren't um, going after the spraying more. And there was a group put together by a number of people. My wife Breezy was very hands on in this project, and still will be. And I think Suzanne Martin has really taken over the leads of this, and it's a great thing called AFLO, Anglers for Lake Okeechobee. And their slogan was "Slow the Flow," and that is still what we're trying to do. And when we say slow the flow, they're trying to slow the flow of water that comes in through the Kissimmee River. And that's where all of our water in Lake Okeechobee comes from, or like 80% of it. Meaning that if we slowed that down, we would have less water in the lake and we'd have a lower water level. And while we were, or I say we, I won't even put we in there because there were other people that were way more involved and hands-on in this project, were pushing to try and fight this. Was around the time that there were other people, and really all of us together were trying to stop the spraying. And when things would be posted or meetings would be had about AFLO and with AFLO about the water coming into the lake, people were trying to push the spray narrative in there as well. And there were people that were kicking that idea out simply for the fact, not because they didn't support it, but because when you're dealing with someone like the government, right? You gotta, I hate to say this, but you almost have to dumb it down, and you can't give them ways out, and you gotta focus on one problem at a time. So you can't go in there and say, we need to stop the amount of water flowing into Lake Okeechobee, um, the amount of water coming in. Oh, and also we need to stop the spraying of aquatic vegetation. Oh, and also we need to work on a planting project to plant grass in the lake. Oh, we got to cut down on the tournaments as well. Can't have 5 tournaments a month. Oh, and you got to just take it one at a time. And that's what I think a lot of people were trying to do. And there were people that kind of bad mouthed, I believe. I shouldn't even say they bad mouthed because I don't know for sure, but I do know some people that were kind of, and it's not the gentleman I was talking about and apologizing to. There's other people that I've been approached by that have said, like, in my face, like, man, like, you got to focus on the spraying more. And I do. But there's certain things that there's a certain way, and it might be wrong. I'll be first. I don't know. There's a certain way in my brain that I feel like we need to approach this situation. And I want to do it in that order. And it could be wrong. I don't know. But anyway, so that was kind of happening. And then there were some things where uh, like people would share stuff, or or pages or threads would go around about spraying, and maybe I didn't chime in, or maybe I would fact check people, and people came across or started getting the idea that, like, and this is kind of what the thread was that I got upset about. There were people accusing me of being on the take, like I'm part of the spraying program. I am paid by the state, or I am on the in, and I'm trying to downplay the spraying so that the spraying can prolong and keep going on, and that's which is absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. I mean, I can't even fathom that someone would even think that, but they did. And it's not because I'm for spraying. I am 100% against it. I'm probably more against it than the people that were complaining about me. But there's a way to go about it. And then this is another thing. A lot of people were saying, well, it's Cody's line of work, it's his business. So bad press, meaning the spraying of aquatic vegetation on Lake Okeechobee, things are dying. That's going to hurt his business. People aren't going to want to come down. So that's why, and they're saying you're scared to say it because you're putting your livelihood first. That's not true. And I said this in the last video. Contrary to what people think, as long as I'm making YouTube videos and I'm catching 5 to 7 pound bass on video, as long as it's taking over 25 pounds to win a tournament on this lake, and as long as it's warm in Florida in the wintertime, us guides are going to be busy. The spraying, the this, the that, my customers do not care, nor do they pay attention most of the time. You wouldn't believe how many of my customers, we will be fishing a spot and I will say, I think we're going to move. And they ask why. And I say, we haven't caught a fish in 2 hours. And a lot of them say, I'm in shorts in Florida. I don't care. A lot of these people, fishing is like secondary. They're just excited to not be shoveling snow. So I'm not trying to hide anything. And again, and this is a point that I really wanted to come across, but it didn't because I deleted the video. But I'll say it again now. I'm very truthful with my customers. I don't try to I don't try to hide anything about the lake. I I get customers that are like, man, you're very blessed that you get to make a living out here. This lake is beautiful, and I always cut them down and say, you should have seen it 6 7 years ago, or you should have seen what this area used to look like. Like when I pull into Tin House Cove, I try to educate people. I try to educate people on the matter of that this lake is in trouble and needs help, because these people are obviously coming here to fish the lake because it's a beautiful area, and or it's on their bucket list, and these people are from out of state. So the more people that we can get to bring attention to this lake needs help, the better. So instead of saying, yep, you just caught that 8 pounder, that's the biggest bass of your life, that's great, Lake Okeechobee's great. Although I do integrate that, I also try to preach like, yeah, you caught this in Tin House Cove. Listen, this may look beautiful to you, but I want you to picture 5 years ago when that hard line was all the way out there. This was solid, clean water, hydrilla, eelgrass, and dollar pads, this whole entire thing. Or when I run through the pass, almost every trip on the way in, I'll be running through the pass, going back to the river, and I'll look at my customers and say, "You see that bank over there, and you see that bank over there. You see how wide this passageway is." 8 years ago, there was one trail wide enough for two boats to go through, and this was solid hydrilla and pads. And I make that known, and that some people almost don't believe me, but I'll go as far as bringing up clips of old FLW footage and showing people, show them what it used to look like and kind of how fast it's going away. And what I said in the old video is, any of my old customers that have fished with me, leave a comment below. Like I'm not just saying I do that. I truly do. I push the narrative that like this lake, they really are trying to kill this place. They really are. Um, and it's sad. It's terrible. So I don't hide it. I don't try to profit off of it. I'm not worried about my business. I say it all the time. There's days where I wish I didn't do this job because almost anything I say is going to sound biased because it's going to look like I'm trying to help my livelihood and help my brand and my business, where everything I say is going to be taken with a grain of salt because I make my livelihood out, my living out here. I almost wish I had another different job so my point of view came across as more important or more truthful, I guess. But um, I forget where I was going with that. But anyway, I just want that to be known. I'm not worried about tourism coming here. Listen, when it snowed in and -6 across the country, people are coming to Florida. And if there's a chance someone can go out there and catch a 7 pound bass, people are going to do it. And listen, as much as we really complain about this lake, I included, we complain about it each and every day. There's a legitimate chance you can roll out there with a Senko and throw it and catch a 5 to 8 pound bass. And until that goes away, us guides are going to stay relatively busy. Okay. So it has nothing to do with that. But this is the other thing, too, I want to say. I say this all the time. If the reason we were also focused on the water level is because this is what I tell people, it's a big killer. And listen, let's just take South Bay. Let's just take Tin House. We'll take Tin House Cove right here. All right, let's just take this area. If they were to spray it to death, which they kind of have, right? We're all in agreement of that. That could take, I mean, how long has it been since Tin House really fell off? I mean, let's say 4 years ago it was absolutely gorgeous and now it looks like hell. So that process took, we'll just say, like, and it was a mixture of things, but like a 4 year trickle process of them having to just coat chemical, coat chemical, coat chemical. Whereas high water, right? If this lake is 19, 18 foot, that's 100% of the lake is at 18 foot, and that's 100% of the grass is getting drowned out. Not just the submerged vegetation, but the emerged vegetation too. The cattails, they deroot and things like that. So you got to remember that. Also, if we were to stop spraying today, if they said, listen, spraying program's over, sign the bill, no more spraying. But the lake's going to be 18 and a half foot, 365. That does nothing. We're done. Lake Okeechobee is no more. All of this marsh eventually is just, it's gone. I mean, this is all gone now. All right, we all see it. So what you would have to do is get the water level. But on the contrary, if so, yeah, so that would happen. Whereas if they keep spraying and the water level is at 14 to 11 foot, although they'd be spraying, the water level would be at a decent height where we could still have growth. So they'd almost have to be keeping up with the problem, like your lawn. You have to manage it. Now they're not managing anything. These spray companies are just nuking everything, but it would almost like buy us time in a way. Is that see you see what I'm saying? Then we would approach the spraying problem as well. But you got to take care of the water. The water level is so important, and people look over that because of the fact that back in, what was it, like 2004, the lake was at 18 foot. But if you look at my chart, there was 45,000 acres of submerged vegetation alone on the lake. That's not counting cattail walls and things like that. So you could afford a little bit of die off. You didn't notice it as much. Things were dying off, but you didn't notice it as much with the high water. Now we don't have anything. I mean, literally, these green lines indicate the acres, thousands of acres of submerged vegetation on Lake Okeechobee. You could see in 2019 we had about just under 30,000. Now, as of 2022, we have zero, and as of now, we still have absolutely 0 acres of submerged vegetation. So, with the high water, the muddy water is just going to roll into areas. Everything's going to be mud. Everything's going to die. No sunlight penetration. The cattail walls are going to deroot. They're going to die, and it's just not a good thing. So that's what we were trying to do. But I am 100% against spraying. I can't stand it. It sickens me to watch it. But at the end of the day, also, everyone's big on the spraying. Everyone's making posts. Everybody's trying to combat this. And I kind of a part is I feel like there aren't enough people trying to fight the high water thing. Now, as of right now, listen, the lake was getting low. We had a massive rain event a couple months ago, and I really thought it was going to shoot up to like 15 foot. We're holding steady at like 13 and a half, which is not great, but not bad, kind of mid range. So, um, we'll see what happens there. But, I do. Here's the other thing I wanted to just make public. Like a lot of people say, like I should be doing more because I have a YouTube channel. People make it like I have this giant, like I'm Ben Milliken or something. I don't even have 5,000 subscribers. I mean, it's not a big channel, but people say I should be pushing for the lake and trying to help. I do things. I just don't report on them. I don't post about them on Facebook. I don't let anyone know. And I said it in the last video. I've taken people from the Everglades Foundation out. I've taken people from Bassmaster Magazine that have done articles somewhat recently, okay, and shown them the lake, not just shown them the lake, shown them areas of the lake, and then ran them to areas in the lake that look like what Lake Okeechobee truly used to look like. Like when I take them to wherever, West Wall, and they just acres of Kissimmee grass with a round reed clump here and there, and they say this looks good. And I say, I want you to take pictures, take a mental note of this, and I run them back into Moonshine Bay and say, this is what that used to look like. Clean water, lily pads, needle grass, all what Lake Okeechobee used to look like. I really try to show them the story and the condition of the lake and how in trouble it is. I went and had a 4.5 hour meeting with captains for clean water. People that, depending on how you look at it, are kind of our enemies on Lake Okeechobee. But Captain Daniel, the kind of the head guy there, do I agree with a lot of things he says on social media? No. Do I argue? Do we? Yes, all those things. But a buddy of mine, Coleman Roberts, he ended up, again, someone else who I don't agree with a lot of the things he says on Facebook at all, but he got their attention. They wanted to set up kind of a closed door meeting to talk, look at what we're looking at. He was nice enough to contact me. We got a few people together. Scott Martin attended, his wife Suzanne, Monica from up in James Monica from up in like Lake and Trail, the manager there, that he showed up. Mike and Justin Jones, my buddy Rich Tate. There was just a small number of people that have been on the lake for a long time that attended this meeting, and it was Josh Greer from Captains for Clean Water and Daniel. And listen, it was a 4-hour meeting, closed doors, of us just talking, and it was very civil, and it was the meeting that kind of needed to happen. Although I'll be the first to tell you, really nothing's come of it. And a big majority of that is our own fault, right? Like Daniel was very clear. Here's the thing. That guy, like I said, I have talked a lot of crap about Captains for Clean Water, okay? I have. A lot of people have, and this and that, but that guy Daniel is a very smart dude. He's very well spoken. He knows his stuff. And I truly do think he does care and about the lake. as well because he knows what needs to happen. He knows it's kind of the heart of Florida, and I have nothing but respect for the guy. Do I agree with a lot of the things that they say on social media, belittling and slandering Lake Okeechobee? No, and we addressed that. We addressed that in the meeting. Justin Jones came out and said, "Dude, if we're gonna fix one thing here today, you guys got to stop slandering Okeechobee, making it seem like the devil, because we have people show up here, and someone like me, I snook fish and tarpon fish on the coast a ton." And I do have a channel. I have a social media page. People either recognize me or they back in, I had a wrapped truck and I got approached. People didn't want anything from Okeechobee over there. And what's funny is, like Daniel was telling us, the Caloosahatchee's in trouble because of the irregular water discharges from the lake that they need between 2,500 and 4,000 CFS, cubic feet per second, going to the Caloosahatchee to make the salinity levels in the Caloosahatchee River regular, and that way they don't have any issues and die off. Well, you can't say that our water is toxic and horrible and disgusting, but then ask for the water at the same time. Maybe you can, but you can't let your residents and your locals over there think that this place sucks when you know you need the water, because you got people fighting to seal the locks shut for good, but you're a guide out there and you're telling me and you know what you're talking about. The guy is very smart. The guy is very, very, very smart. That you've done the research and it needs between 2,500 and 4,000 CFS. So you got to just be careful with your words. But anyway, one of the things he was saying and telling us was he agreed with us. And he said, it's not our fight as the captains for clean water to do, especially when we've done 4 years of like combating the lake. We can't go to fight for the lake as well. But what you guys need to do is you got to approach everything one at a time. And he said, and here's the other thing. And I asked him this, and he agreed with spraying. Something like this is what they're supposed to be spraying: is hydrilla, water hyacinth, and water lettuce. Okay, water lettuce and water hyacinth are floating vegetation. It's the green mats you see us flipping the 2 ounce, ounce and a half weights in on Okeechobee. At least you used to, and they're gone now. And hydrilla, which is obviously a submerged. Everyone knows what hydrilla is. And although we as bass fishermen absolutely love the stuff, I can care less about lettuce. Honestly, I don't really care for hyacinth either. I flip pennywort mats. Back me up on that. Leave a comment below. If you're flipping mats, you prefer hyacinth or pennywort? Pennywort's the deal, and pennywort is native. But I like pennywort. I don't really catch anything out of hyacinth. But either way, I don't necessarily want them spraying it. As much as we love that, and hydrilla, it's invasive. It is not supposed to be in our waterways. And he agreed. He said, listen, there might be something you love, but if you go to battle for to keep hydrilla in the lake, they're going to just, as soon as they see the subject, they're going to tune you out and they're going to think about their golf swing while you're talking for an hour. And when you're done, they're going to say, that's all great, but that's not supposed to be here. So we're not keeping it. We got to kill it. Okay. So you have to approach how bad the spraying is for the eelgrass, the pennywort mats, the peppergrass, the cattail, the native plants. All right. And that was a big thing as well. So they're going to, if you give them a little sliver for an out, that's what the state takes every time. Same thing with the high water versus the spraying and stuff. So you got to come to them with one problem, have them get a solution, fix it, back out, and then come at them again with the next one. You can't splurge them. And he did offer some really good ideas on some ways to combat it. But at the end of the day, like and it's our own fault. A lot of it kind of falls back on us that we haven't pursued it that great. I mean, maybe people are behind closed doors that I'm not seeing, but it's one of those things like I don't know the next step to take. So what this video is about, this is kind of what this video is about. It's almost like kind of like a not a call for help, but like I'm just very curious. The water level thing, this is the thing. There's only so much we can do with the water level on Lake Okeechobee. Because a big factor with all the problems in the state of Florida that no one wants to consider is that there's 1,500 people a day moving to this state a day. So what I tell people, it's what I said in the last video. I challenge you: get in your car and go to an area, a rural area of Florida that you haven't been to in 2 or 3 years, and I will bet you money you will see development. They're covering the whole state. It's crazy. It saddens me. It sickens me. And every house that's built needs a road to get there, needs a driveway, a sidewalk, a foundation, and a roof. And every square inch of all of that combined is a square inch less of soil that absorbs rainwater. So every drop of rain we get, and it does rain here in this state, is going to go down your roof, onto your driveway, run down your driveway, to the sidewalk, to the road, and all of that has to go somewhere. And that volume of water is growing every day. And that water's got to go somewhere to the coast, but a lot of it eventually ends up in Lake Okeechobee, and then it's got to go somewhere. So here's the thing. A big answer would be to put a cap on the state, and people got to stop moving here. But the state's not going to turn away residents, not going to turn away money, so that's never going to happen. So there's things in play that are trying to alter the amount of water that comes into Lake Okeechobee. And there's people working on that. And that's what we were talking about. But as far as the spraying, what everyone's curious about, like, what is actually going on with the spraying? What is actually, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy guy, but I do think there is a bigger plan, because what they're getting away with, especially in 2024, is criminal. It like in today's world, where if you get caught smushing a moth or stepping on an ant on social media, there's just hordes of people that call you like a terrible person, and how did you do that to that poor animal? And all these groups and all these people fighting and for all these environmentalists and stuff, where you get canceled for like ripping up like an endangered tree. How is what they're getting away with in our state okay? Um, and like what's actually, like, who's driving it? Because I don't really know. I have rumors and I've done research, but I can never get a clear cut answer. I know the state subcontracts out these spray companies, okay? And I've been told by many of people that either work for or used to work for these spray companies is they are told to not come back with any chemical in their tank. Dump it, all means necessary, is what they've been told. And the reason for this is what I tell people is back in 2010, when there was 60,000 acres of submerged vegetation in the lake, right? A lot of that being something like hydrilla. And then you got to factor in the hyacinth and the lettuce. Let's just say, like, we need to control this lake. We need to spray it. And you own the spray company, right? So you go out there and you do a survey for 4 days, and you're like, we're going to need X amount of boats. We're going to have to pay them this. We're going to need this much chemical. We're going to spend this much in fuel for the year to take care of this lake, manage it. All right. I'm just going to throw a number out there. I don't know what the numbers are. I'm making one up that's easy to keep track of because I graduated high school in Algebra 1. So that's what we're going to do. 100 million. They're going to say to the state, we need $100 million. And they say, get it done. Okay. So out of that 100 million, let's just say 75 million of it is cost. And let's just break it down from that. Let's say 90 million of it is cost, paying employees, chemical, fuel, insurance, blah, 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 blah. But the boss man of that company pockets $10 million. That's pretty good. Next year comes around, renegotiating, you look around, man, realistically, we could get away with $14-15 million now. We did a damn good job last year. You think they're going to tell the state that? No. 100 million. Get it done. That guy wants his 10 million. So now they have to prove that they are using that much chemical. They have to prove it. Like, yeah, look, we're still dumping this much chemical. We need this many employees. So they're going to dump that chemical. There's probably trackers on the boats. Yeah, look, they're dumping it in Lake Okeechobee. Like we said, look, they're driving to the lake. They track all this, but for them to keep that money coming in, they got to prove that they're still using it and working it like that. And that's just on this lake. But when there's thousands of hours of footage of airboats, I posted one the other day for those of you that follow me on social media, of them spraying a patch of Kissimmee grass for 15 minutes with, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 15 to 20 gallons of chemical on a patch of Kissimmee grass that's the size of a pool table. All right. Meanwhile, it's Kissimmee grass. It's native. There was no lettuce. There's nothing there. There's nothing invasive. And this guy's just sitting there just coating this Kissimmee grass. Like, how are there no ramifications from that? And that was just one boat on the lake. There's probably 20 boats doing that day. And like, it's got to be that someone in the state is in bed with someone who owns the company. But how is there no? It's not just on Okeechobee, it's the whole freaking state. So how is there nothing being done to be like, hey man, we got to regulate this? And they're saying, oh well, we can't get rid of these people's jobs. Well, they closed the toll booths on the turnpike overnight, kicked all those people out of a job. You don't have to kick these people out of a job. Make them do other things. Make them. Let's do planning projects. Let's do some scraping. Let's do regulated burns, right? Get them on the team where they burn off areas during low water season on the lake, and they burn it off naturally. It cooks off all that muck and gunk on the bottom, and it creates room for new growth. There's other jobs they can do, all right, but paying them whatever they're paying them to dump chemical in what is some of Palm Beach's drinking water. Also, a lot of people from West Palm don't even know that. They shower, brush their teeth, and drink this water out of this lake every day. Um, it's crazy, along with just the environmental damage with the fish. There's no food for the manatees in the lake anymore. Just all the detrimental things that are happening to this. I want to know, like, does anyone have a connection? Does anyone have a contact? Does anyone know anything on how to combat it? Because all these people are up in arms about it and complaining about it and saying we need to go somewhere to talk about it when it's the state that's doing it. You have to go to the state to complain about it. Well, they're the ones doing it. So I don't know how to combat the problem civilly, do it in the right way to where you gain some ground. Because here's the deal, guys. This is what blows my mind. You look at a state like Texas. No one does it better than Texas. Texas has, I don't know, every lake, every pond and puddle in that state is a world-class bass factory. They manage it to the 10th degree. They're running they're running science projects on these fish. The Share Lunker program, they're researching what makes a bass grow to 15 pounds, the genetics, introducing regulatory stocking of these lakes, right? Regular stocking of feed, right? Putting shad, bluegill, making sure that all of your lakes and fisheries are the healthiest and most productive they can possibly be. Dumping millions of dollars into these programs to make Texas, well, what it is now, the best bass fishing state in the country. What's crazy is that's once what Florida was, and Texas is doing all that with Florida bass. Those are our fish. They're Florida strain bass. So we have the bass, we have the fish, and we have the environment to grow giant fish because we did it for years. But Texas is putting money into just developing that and regulating it and doing everything in their power to make it the healthiest fishing environment, fishing economy, fishing everything that revolving around bass fishing as they can. And our state is doing everything in their power to kill it. And I can't figure out why that is, because it almost it anymore it does look like they have a different agenda, and they're trying everything in their power for there not to be a bass in any body of water in this state anymore. Um, I mean, I know over 20 people that have moved to Texas because of their Share Lunker, their bass fishing program they got going on there. I mean, you can't touch them. They're the best. It's every lake is a mastermind. It's a work of art. There's giant fish all over, and they're all healthy, and numbers are great. And it's because they're taking their time and they're researching it and they're doing it the right way. And I feel like our state is doing the complete opposite. So the spray, I just want to know, like, what does anyone have an idea what the spraying, what their actual motive is with this spraying? I don't know. It's just crazy. I mean, the whole state is just destroying what was the Yankee Stadium of bass fishing. I mean, this was where people come in the winter. They just move here to bass fish, and now people are literally moving away. Terrible. So either way, any videos you have, or I mean, you can send them to me on social media. Um, I just, I don't know. I'd say it all the time. You're a resident in Florida, you're visiting Florida, you are here in some way, shape, or form because of the water. Whether you want to look at the water, whether you just want to sit on the beach, whether you want to deep drop for rosies, troll for wahoo, whether you want to drag a Carolina rig or throw a swim jig for a bass, whether you want to water ski, whether you want to snorkel in the springs, everything around Florida lifestyle is revolved around water, and our state does the best that they can to screw it all up. Um, I'm just trying to get answers on how to combat just the whole entirety of the problem. I don't know. I just don't know who to contact or how to actually get this resolved. Get it regulated. Get it cut in half. Another thing people don't want to admit is there does need to be spraying. They do need to regulate a little bit, but that's not what they're doing. They're not regulating anything. And it seems like on certain lakes where they start spraying, like headwaters, for example, they start with like a legit management system where it's just a little bit of spray here and there, control keeping everything under control. But now they're already going ahead and nuking that place. It's like they get their foot in the door and say we're going to take small steps, and then it's just nuke city. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I apologize for the last video. I'm going to go back to I don't know, cleaning out my kitchen. We're actually heading to Crystal River this weekend again. We're on a little trip. I'm going to go back to listening to my Dave Mercer podcast with Brett Hite and going about my day. Got to go get new tires put on my trailer today, too. Got to go do that. Guide life. You guys want to hear a funny Brett Hite story? I'm going to tell you one anyway. We'll close with this, kind of on a lighter mood. So one year, just because I'm a big Brett Hite fan. Who doesn't like Brett Hite? He's the chatterbait king. He's just a cool dude. So for some reason, any of you that attend ICAST, when I didn't go this year for the first time in like 9 years, but years past, it's always like I always just run into Brett Hite at the after parties. Now, keep in mind, Brett Hite has no idea who I am. No idea, as he shouldn't. I mean, it's more or less, I've had 8 or 9 Tito's drinks, and 8 or 9, I'd be asleep. I had like 4, okay? And we're having a good time, and I walk in, oh, it's Brett Hite. What up, Brett Hite? And he has no idea who I am, and he just hangs out, right? So that's exactly what happened. Matt W was there. I think he challenged him to a dance off, and Brett Hite hit the rubato. Like we talk about that all the time. But he's like the coolest guy ever, just hanging out, and we're talking. Actually, the instance I'm talking about, we were talking about Lake Okeechobee, and he's like, yeah, when I won there off the tip of a bird on the chatterbait, and we're like, yeah, there's no grass there anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, like there's nothing there. That big island you fished around is like a reed head, Bird Island. There's no hydrilla. And he's just staring at us like we have 3 heads. I'm like, no, like the whole lake's trashed. So anyway, we're talking to him, and finally we were leaving that bar to go to a different bar, me and Breezy, and I forget what bar we were going to. But we were getting on these little like pedal bike taxis, right? So they you get on this little cart and they drive you down International Drive to the next bar. We're like, hey, we're going to, I don't even remember what bar it was or where we were going, but we're going down here. Like, come with us. And he's like, no, 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 I've got to be at the Evergreen booth at 7 a.m. I can't be out partying all night with you youngsters. And we're like, we're going, you're going. We're going. We already got the little Uber thing, whatever we were doing. And we go to leave and we're like, come on, you're coming with us. Let's go. And he's like, nope, nope. I'll see y'all at the show. You guys have fun. I'm paying my tab and I'm going back to the hotel. We're like, all right. So me and Breezy walk out of the bar and I think we actually got an Uber this night to go like literally a half mile, quarter mile. But it's Orlando in July. It's 94 degrees at 11:30 at night. Sweaty, it's disgusting. So we get an Uber just to bring us down the street. And I literally get in the Uber, look in the bar, and Brett Height is like at the bar paying his tab. And Breezy's like, I like him. He's super cool. He's always been cool. I've talked to him and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, he's a cool dude. He's super nice. You know, it's cool when you meet a pro and like, you know, they're like the real deal. They're not arrogant. They're not cocky. We were just shooting the shit. Super cool guy. He's like, yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. We get out at the bar. We get in line. We pay our $5 thing to get in the bar. And I walk in the bar and Brett Height is standing in the bar already with the drink going, what took you so long? I swear on my life, you could call my wife right now and say, what's Brett Height's superpower? And she'll say, throwing a chatterbait, and he knows how to teleport. He teleported to the next bar. I don't know what happened. I have no idea, but he already had a cocktail and he went, what took you so long? And he was standing in the doorway. Matt Weeda, I believe Matt Weeda was there. I know he was there and challenged him to a dance off, and Brett Height hit the rubato. But I think that was the same night. That could have been another party night. I don't remember. But Brett Height knows how to teleport. And that's how he wins with the chatterbait, because he could teleport all over the lake and find the chatterbait bite. That's my Brett Height story. I'm going back to listen to the podcast and finish up my chores for the day. And I'll see you guys on the next one. I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know if you want any other hanging out with pros stories. I don't really have a bunch, but let me know if you think that was funny. True story, by the way. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys later.